Ladies and gentlemen, here we are once more, with me dragged out from the grave, a task which nothing short of an intellectual travesty like this could accomplish. It seems the only thing powerful enough to rouse me from my eternal slumber is yet another mind-numbingly obtuse and logically flawed episode from the likes of Dr. Jordan B. Peterson. Today, we are subjected to an insipid dialogue with James Walker, a man whose qualifications seem inversely proportional to the depth of his arguments. Let us begin with the very premise of this episode, which posits that nuclear power is not merely a viable option, but the salvation for both the impoverished masses and our beleaguered environment. This, dear listeners, is an assertion so patently absurd and intellectually negligent that it is difficult to know where to begin. Peterson and Walker engage in an orgy of self-congratulation, each patting the other on the back for regurgitating half-baked ideas, and ignoring the plethora of evidence and nuanced debate that would render their arguments laughable were they not so tragically serious. Peterson opens the discussion by setting up a false dichotomy, a logical fallacy so elementary that it beggars belief someone of his supposed intellectual stature would stoop to such depths. He implies that we are faced with a binary choice: the idiotic energy policies of California and Germany, or the nuclear utopia he envisions. This is a false dilemma of the highest order. The world is not confined to these simplistic binaries. The energy landscape is a complex interplay of various sources, technologies, and policies, each with its own set of advantages and disadvantages. Peterson's reductionist approach does a disservice to any meaningful discussion on the subject. Next, we are treated to a cavalcade of appeals to emotion. Peterson, with his characteristic sanctimoniousness, suggests that the pursuit of nuclear power is a moral requirement. This is nothing more than a thinly veiled attempt to bypass rational debate and appeal directly to the audience's sense of morality. By framing the argument in moral terms, Peterson implies that opposition to nuclear power is inherently immoral, a tactic as intellectually dishonest as it is manipulative. The episode is further marred by hasty generalizations. Walker and Peterson repeatedly assert that lifting people out of poverty will inevitably lead to greater environmental consciousness. This oversimplified narrative ignores the myriad factors that influence environmental policies and behaviors, including political will, cultural values, and economic structures. Wealth does not automatically equate to environmental stewardship, as evidenced by the numerous affluent societies that continue to grapple with significant environmental challenges. One of the most egregious fallacies on display is the strawman argument. Walker and Peterson construct a caricature of renewable energy advocates, portraying them as naive idealists who believe that solar and wind power alone can solve all our problems. This gross misrepresentation allows them to dismantle an argument that no serious proponent of renewable energy actually makes. It is a disingenuous tactic that serves only to undermine their credibility. Moreover, the discussion is rife with an over-reliance on authority. Walker's impressive-sounding titles and credentials are paraded as if they are a substitute for substantive evidence. While expertise is valuable, it is not infallible. The claims made by Walker and Peterson must be subjected to the same rigorous scrutiny as any other. Instead, they are accepted uncritically, with little to no evidence provided to support their sweeping assertions. The episode also suffers from a pervasive sense of reductionism. Peterson and Walker suggest that the provision of cheap energy is the panacea for poverty. This is a reductionist view that ignores the multifaceted nature of poverty, which encompasses factors such as education, healthcare, governance, and social equity. Energy is undoubtedly a crucial component, but it is not a silver bullet. Their simplistic narrative does a disservice to the complex and interconnected challenges faced by impoverished communities. Let us also address the appeal to fear that underpins much of the discussion. Peterson and Walker conjure up images of geopolitical dependency and economic ruin to bolster their case for nuclear power, all the while glossing over the very real risks associated with this technology. They dismiss the catastrophic failures of Chernobyl and Fukushima as mere footnotes, failing to acknowledge the long-lasting and far-reaching consequences of such disasters. This is not only intellectually dishonest but also dangerously irresponsible. Furthermore, the episode is plagued by a lack of transparency regarding potential conflicts of interest. Walker, as the CEO of Nanonuclear, has a vested interest in promoting nuclear power. This bias is not adequately addressed, leaving the listener with a skewed and incomplete picture. The ethical implications of such a one-sided narrative are significant and warrant serious consideration. The historical context of nuclear energy is also conveniently ignored. The episode glosses over the legacy of accidents and failures in the nuclear industry, reducing them to trivial inconveniences. This minimization of historical reality is not only disrespectful to the victims of these disasters, but also undermines the gravity of the risks associated with nuclear energy. The reductionist and alarmist rhetoric reaches its zenith when they claim that the environmental cost of poverty is greater than the environmental cost of wealth. This false dichotomy ignores the fact that both poverty and wealth have their own environmental impacts, and addressing one does not automatically mitigate the other. The relationship between economic development and environmental sustainability is complex and cannot be reduced to such simplistic terms.